Good evening. A 45.5 trillion shillings budget is before Parliament for the 2020-2021 financial year. This budget is 5 trillion shillings more than the 40.4 trillion shillings budget for the financial year ending in June. The Ministries of Works and Transport, Security, Education, and loan repayment still take the lion's share. Surprisingly, the Ministries of Health's budget has had a marginal increment despite the current COVID-19 pandemic overstretching the sector. And with the controversies surrounding the allocations of 10 billion shillings to members of Parliament to fight COVID-19, questions are being raised on whether the 2020-2021 budgeting process is reflecting the country's priorities. To discuss the budget and the debate surrounding it, we host Kira Municipality MP Ibrahim Uganda, James Kakoza MP Kabula County, and a member of the Budget Committee, and Rita Achiro, the Executive Director, Uganda Women's Network, UONET. Gentlemen and lady, thank you very much for having responded to our invitation, and we are grateful that you're here, and a warm welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me begin with you, Honorable Kakoza, because you are closer to the executive perhaps than the other two colleagues, even though you're just a member of Parliament. But in some way you're closer to them. You know, we have a budget that is more looking yet again on infrastructure, on oil and things like this, and yet we have seen the health budget not rising so much to the expectations of many, considering now that we are facing a pandemic of a global proportion that is even giving us an existential threat. Why?
First of all, thank you, Mr. Kamala, and viewers. Of course, the situation we are in, I want to appreciate Ugandans that it's not an abnormal situation. Really, I want to applaud all Ugandans that really who have put in an effort. The media, those who have contributing a lot to the situation we are in, to see to it that we are coming out of this pandemic. It's quite very important that Ugandans wish to combine effort, because we are in an environment which is not normal. I think it has never happened since independence. So in the same way, of course, I got an opportunity to meet the Minister of Finance. One of the key words he said, we are going into a budgeting process, but the situation is not normal, it's abnormal. But what do? We have to plan accordingly, we have to think hard, because necessity is the mother of invention, but we have to project. That's why we are projecting 4.5, but we think that we might not make headway, depending on how long are we going to stay in this environment, so that we make the correct projections. But it does not deter us to make estimates, because we think that the budget to be implemented starts in July. So this is the whole background of such a thing. Back to your question, why there is an increment in the Ministry of Health, but that there is also an external funding, which is of budget from these international donors. They give in an report, which is already off budget. But we think where we are, by July, something would have shaped. But also, you know, budget is twofold. It's income and expenditure. Where do you get money to spend? And where do you get your income? That's the budget is twofold, income and expenditure. when you look at the proposals of the tax measures which are put to generate more, to go to that period of that amount of money, 45.5 trillion. It's really a projection, but in reality, we might cut out.
I'm asking those projections because when you look at countries in Western Europe or even the United States, their economies are going to suffer because of the pandemic. And the projections, you want to spend more money into things like oil and roads, and yet people's lives are at stake. And I was wondering, why wouldn't you even as Parliament and the Executive put more money now in the health sector? Because this has taught us a lesson the hard way, or you're not learning anything.
That's true. When these are estimates which can be revised anytime. When you are projecting like it's a normal business. But in reality, it's not normal. Because when you look at the projection, the way you are going to receive the money, you are going to get income. The tax measures, which it does provide for the budget, the economic base is being eroded, and really we think that there are some things which are going to happen, but in the situation we are in, so you have to estimate. In case it comes normal, what do you do in July? You would have estimated what you want. But as we go along, there must be revision in reality, either you want it or not, because the pandemic is severe. It has affected the whole external funding, where you expect the money to come from. Also, they are kneeling down. Our domestic revenue also is affected. So really, we need to think even more than we are estimating. This is the situation.
Let me bring the question to Rita Chiro. You fight for women empowerment. You fight for equality. You fight for the women's voice to be heard. We have seen, for example, statistics showing us that almost 19 women die every day due to pregnancy-related complications. But almost year after year, not adequate money is put in the health sector. And yet a lot of money is almost for the last 10 years put into the oil roads and all this kind of stuff, even though now we know that the barrel of oil has gone down to almost $30 or even below. And in the US now it's even much lower because no one is even using oil. How does that affect you or affect us as a nation when money is not put in adequately in the area of health?
Thank you, Patrick, and my colleagues this evening, Honorable Kakoza and my MP for Kira, Honorable Samunjunganda. Patrick, I think the issue of health, while as women of this country we are very concerned, we are not only concerned about health issues, we are concerned about the general governance of this country when it comes to finances. You ask yourself, and I really want to speak from a perspective of a community development worker, the women I work with in Rakai, in Aleptong, in Chibale, in Kisoro, in Kapelebiong. I want to bring that reality. You know, when we sit in this studio, we can talk about all the physical policies, all the nice things that we can read about on the internet, the parliamentary, documents and all that. When you look at, you start from the budgeting cycle. Of course, the law will tell you there's community participation in the budgeting process. We have a very clear and robust budgeting process. But when you look at this document, does it actually reflect the needs of the people? What are the basic needs of the people? Health, shelter, education, and food. You have just read the statistics of the budget that has been projected for 2020-2021, over 45 trillion. And then you look at number 1, number 2, number 3. education comes number 3. Number 1 is security. Number 2, security I think is 4.5. Number 2, which is repayment, which is 4, and then education. And then you come down, I think, to health. So you look at those priorities. Are those the priorities of the people? Security is important. But where is this threat that we are talking about? Do Ugandans understand the threat, or it's imaginary? Have we been educated enough that actually you need the 4.5 for education? The other issue that I have with the budget, and many people out there have, what informs this budget? Is it a projection that we have projected and there is a trend analysis that shows this is the population growth of Uganda and this is how we budget? For, let's say, in the next 1 year, we will be having so many children graduating from P7 and going to senior 1, and we'll be having so many births, and we'll, you know, how is this budgeting done? And for me, for a very long time, that has been one of our problems, the budgeting process and the basis on which it is based. Now, going back to the issue of the priority and health, I think COVID-19, if there is no lesson we've learned, then we've learned nothing and forgotten nothing, as we learned in history. This is the time for us to sit and reflect. And our MPs are here. You know, when this thing came up, I said, ordinarily, even in a household, one thing you do is to quickly start adjusting your belt. This was the ideal. I wanted to buy shoes. I wanted to buy this. Now this situation has come. Where are the wants and where are the needs? You immediately take away money from the wants to the needs, first and foremost. Then you go to supplementary. Said we've done away with the wants, we've put it in the needs, but these are still the gaps. But instead, even before we've done the quick mathematics of cutting from the wants to the needs, we're running to supplementary budget. And now that is even like adding more salt into injury. Even where we have the supplementary budget, where is it put? Health doesn't appear. It appears minimal. That's why in the last 3 weeks we've been running around like headless chicken. Where are the ambulances? The women and people are saying all sorts of things because everybody is caught unawares. We've never planned for such situations because of who we are. We never project. We never have worst case scenario plannings. You know, we live like my women who we work with in the communities. I go sell my tomato. That's the one I'll buy nakati. I'll buy my matoke. I'll buy my binyeba. That is how we are running the country. We do not paint worst case scenarios, and that is what has caught us in. Now, as if that is not enough, as you said, the statistics that is captured is about 16 to 18 women dying daily. That is the official statistics. Believe you me, it's more than that. Women are dying from complications. Somebody will tell you we have improved from 435 out of the 100 live births to 336. And somebody will say, oh, thank you very much. Uganda is doing well. People are being counted as part of statistics. You do not know that these women have names. There's a Rita, there's a Rose, there's a Miriam, there's Sarah. They have names. They are not statistics. So COVID-19, and I hope our MPs can just use this opportunity to say we need to do things differently.
Okay, let me
I just want to conclude. Even the budget that we've put for health, Patrick, almost 50% of that money, the projected budget, we're expecting it from donors. And they're the ones who are worst hit. So imagine if they say we're not giving you the 50, or now we've reduced it to 25%. What are we going to do?
Honorable Ibrahim, and you're an MP, and of course you are the people who are going to be appropriating money. You're the ones passing the budget. You're the ones whose job it is to appropriate. But like Rita is questioning, are you appropriating this money to the areas that really where the needs of the people are?
Let me use my journalistic background just to help people to understand where we are. The budget that we are passing, today we've moved nearly halfway. Tomorrow I think this budget will be passed. Is a pre-COVID-19 budget. The budget that government presented through the Minister of Finance has not been revised to reflect the conditions obtaining in Uganda and maybe in the world. The budget committee where the Honorable Kakoza is a member presented a report. Mainly the opposition MPs who sit on that committee, the Honorable Mwanga, Cecily Ogwara and others presented the minority report, disagreeing with the priorities as you have put it. In this budget, if you allow me, just very quickly, and not in the order of importance, if you look at the public debt, because it is captured in this budget,
yes,
we are now at 12. We are now at 12 point something. The money that we have borrowed, both locally and internationally. In my own calculation, I think we are near half the Uganda's GDP. But of course, the Minister of Finance and together with some experts in Parliament will reduce to about 33%. The area where I have had a personal interest in the budget, and I'll be very quick, if you look at the way we are going to finance this budget and how we have been financing this budget, this is going to be a budget, as you read it, 45 trillion shilling. We are going to borrow from commercial banks 7 trillion shilling, what they call financing. We've already consumed the money, but it has to be reflected in the budget. So we'll borrow from commercial banks 7 trillion shilling to repay the loans that we have in these commercial banks. But so it's reflected in the budget as if it is money that is available. For you, when you are reading 45 trillion.
Wait a minute, we are borrowing to pay the debt.
We have already taken this money from commercial banks. So we will go through the bonds and borrow and pay. Say, okay, you've gone to a money lender to borrow 1 million shilling and the due date arrives before. So what you go and borrow 1.2, pay, and then continue servicing. So this, if you look at the way the budget is going to be financed, that's what you are going to do. And as a result of keeping borrowing, especially from commercial banks, interest payment, just interest payment alone, in the budget is going to be 3.5 trillion. That is interest payment. If you are looking at the items that are going to consume the biggest amount of the budget, interest payment is about number 2 or 3. It
comes in as number 3.
Yes.
With almost 11 point something percent.
Because we failed to generate money, the economy has failed to generate money. What the soft target for this government has been to run into commercial banks because they have salaries to pay. So you're going to borrow 7 trillion to pay because you owe these banks about 6 point something. But on this money that you keep picking like an ordinary person, interest payment now has gone to 3.5 trillion every year. That's one point I wanted to note. The second point is revenue correction. Last year, our projection was to correct about, in the first half, 9.1 trillion shilling. We end up correcting about 8.5 trillion. So we had a shortfall of about 644 billion shilling. And this one I'm bringing this happened when the situation was normal and we were registering shortfalls. Maybe the reason a call was sacked. Now, this is Corona period where 4,200 companies have closed and people are at home. But the government now says the budget has gone to 45 trillion. The second, another point I want to share with you is if you look at the total budget as you have given it, the budget committee where Kakoza sits has told us in Parliament that the budget committee has told us that the amount of money we are forecasting to correct as a country is going to constitute 48.2% of the budget. 51% of our budget is going to be borrowing from these commercial banks and then waiting for the donors to help. That's how we are going to finance the budget. But very quickly, this is where we disagreed with the government and their budget. We are in a COVID-19 situation. The minister said the uncertainties, we don't know how much they are going to affect us. Look, and these were the proposals we made. Advertising and public relations is moving from 78 billion shilling to 85 billion shilling in the budget. Workshops and seminars, I don't know whether we'll ever hold these workshops again. They are going to cost us 219 billion shilling. We have books and periodicals, 86 billion shilling. Welfare and entertainment, 101 billion shilling. Special meals and drinks, 317 billion shilling. We have travel inland, maybe that will happen, but travel abroad, 167 billion shilling. And then you have fuel and oil and lubricants.
Okay.
I can see our disagreement.
A lot of non-essentials consuming a lot of money.
Non-essentials, but some of them you will never have. When I was entering the main gate here,
Serena,
security asked me, are you going to the hotel? I said, is the hotel still there? I said, no, it is closed. So if we have Serena closed and so many other hotels closed because of COVID, other countries think that this situation will start normalizing around December. So that's the big disagreement we have had with Kakoza's government. They behave as if things are still normal.
Okay.
They are planning workshops.
Okay. Honorable, we're going to take a break and then we come back with Honorable Kakoza maybe giving a response to that. It appears now the Honorable Ibrahim Nganda is putting everything of government on him, but of course he sits on the Budget Committee of Parliament, and this is their judgment. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guest this evening, Honorable Ibrahim Samuel Nganda, Honorable James Kakoza, and Rita Acheru. And we're looking into the budget 2020-2021. And before we went to break, Ibrahim was saying, look, you have not really prioritized the needs of the people of Uganda. We are not operating in normal times, and probably the budget is going to be passed tomorrow, but it is not taking care of the situation as it is today. Couldn't you have really, revised it so that it can reflect the situation on the ground as it is?
No, if you can, just a second before Kakoza comes in. I told the minister yesterday that I had thought government was going to withdraw this budget presented in December and then go and write a budget that is going to reflect the conditions the country is facing. If you look, the Americans, yes, the disease is a problem, but the well-being of the population has become even more urgent, because by this evening 22 million Americans had filed for unemployment, yet those who are affected by the disease are under 1 million. That's why the stimulus they have been proposing in America, 2 trillion shilling, now you have another 400 billion shilling US dollar, is to resuscitate the economy, because you may have people starving. And World Health Organization today says if we continue this way, their forecast is that we may lose 300,000 people per day to starvation. We made all these points, Kakoza, and I don't want to blame Kakoza, but at least he supported the majority view that we can maintain a budget of all the items I have mentioned.
Your response.
Okay. There are 3 principles in budgeting. The country Uganda, 1 is zero budgeting, 2 incremental budgeting, 3 you budget and implement as you correct. What is the budget we are using in Uganda? We use a budget of cash budgeting. So if we are using a budget of cash budgeting, it has external funding and also domestic revenue. You make those projections, those estimates. That's why the Minister of Finance, when he's reading the budget, he said, these are the estimates I expect. And these are the activities I'm supposed to do in a year. As you go along with the whole budget estimates, you go and as you go along, things don't work out, like where we are now. Because that's why we told the Minister of Finance, in reality, this is a abnormal situation. You cannot bring tax measures to increase them according to the budget, the background to the budget. It will not make sense because you don't have figures as now. You get it? If you don't have figures as now, how you performed, then don't try to increase. Stay to think as if it's normal, but as you go along to implement, you provide means how you cut your expenditure. This is why you see now, what is the priority now, as you asked a very good question, that Minister of Health, it has got a little increment. But what are the supplementing activities of COVID now? You need security, either you want it or not. Because security now, all the porous borders, the extra activities they are going to do, they are going to help Minister of Health where it doesn't have the capacity to manage. For instance, if you didn't have security today to manage the situation of social distancing, we could be in problems. Let me finish.
I am sorry, because you see, you are misleading the public. No. Look at the budget you are passing.
Let me finish my point.
Classified assets is going to be 2.2
let me finish my point.
So what classified asset do you need to safeguard, secure the borders?
Let me finish my point. The total in budget is in percentage. It increased from 7.2 up to 9.7. Read it. Security. Now you have the neighboring countries. You have to control the borders. Could you leave it to health to stay in the same quagmire? What do you do first?
So the question was, do you have to put over 2.5 trillion shillings into an classified expenditure because you want to control border points?
Of course you have to, because there are some extra activities which are going to be done. As we talk today, there are bridges which are wiped out and neighbors are coming in to bring a disease. What do you do?
So what do you do? So what is so covert in securing the borders that you have to put money in this classified expenditure to that colossal sum of money?
Classified expenditure has been there. It's not, you take the whole total of security. It's composed of, within the GDP, it came from 7.5 to 9.7. All that classified expenditure included. But the activity which are supposed to be done to deal with, to help the quagmire you are in, you can't leave it with health. They will not manage. Let me do it this way. For instance, there are 4 principles of any developing country. 1, you must control security. You must give it the first priority, to give it a neighboring environment so that your economy performs better.
So you make it look like a war budget now?
No, of course.
We're at war.
This is death. Don't think this is a normal situation. No, that's why America has gone out to say, please, can we go, the first time in time memorial, the reserves of America to get 45%.
You know, okay,
no, this is not a normal situation.
Rita, in an effort trying to save lives, in the effort trying to save lives, which is, in the effort trying to save lives, Mr. Kakoza, you also need to save livelihoods.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why the president is saying the war we are facing, it cannot be compromised. That you people, what we deal if we neglected.
I am uncomfortable with Kakoza.
No, please.
The Americans have got 45% of their reserves to go and resuscitate the economy. For you are getting the reserves to buy classified equipment.
No.
That's the point we are asking.
No, it's not classified.
Okay, let me take this to Rita. Let's look at this. The Minister of Trade and Industry just told us 2 days ago that 4,200 industries and factories are closing. These employ tens of thousands of people. Now they're at home. And probably some of them will not come back to production line. And so that is a serious problem we are facing. Shouldn't the government be thinking about a stimulus kind of package to make sure that you save these industries, find a way how they can continue in production and having people on their jobs so that we do not face a serious, bigger problem in future?
I think, Patrick, with all due respect to Honorable Kakoza, he's contradicting himself. One, we all know that budgets or a budget is an expenditure estimate. That is what he's telling us. That we started this budgeting process way back before Corona, meaning that we were already projecting expenditure. Now, he goes ahead to say that we had to make certain adjustments to prioritize security. If this was a budget estimate, how did we, at the planning stage that started way back last year, that security comes number one, before even Corona? The debt Honorable Uganda here has talked about, we are actually paying money that we've already consumed. It's just a reflection in the budget, but we don't have that money.
Can I throw clarification?
No, I'll give you time to speak.
Just a moment.
So the contradiction is they had already prioritized security, even before Corona. Now you're coming to have supplementary budgets because you've seen Corona. And I think it's really wrong and very insulting to Ugandans to say we are securing borders when this morning I was at a fundraiser to raise money for Uganda, begging development partners, our frontline people, Ugandans, citizens, working barehanded without PPE in hospitals. So you're going to secure the border, then we lose these Ugandans in hospitals?
Can I throw clarification there?
Okay.
I think for me that is the biggest contradiction.
Okay, Honorable Kakoza.
The clarification is, what was the last year's budget? Was security number one? It wasn't. It wasn't. It was number three, because there was no problem. But here the problem has come. Look at the budget. It was at 7.5. Why has it increased this? This year, the estimate...
When did you start making the budget process for this 2021?
It starts, the indicative figure starts in February.
Of last year?
Of this year.
No, but
that's when they bring...
but Kakoza, the framework paper was delayed in December.
Please, the Public Finance Management Act, the Minister of Finance, bring budget framework paper in
December.
By law, it's February, to Parliament, and say, these are my projections. By Public Finance Management Act, Section 13. It's February. You have to deal with that, with the figures.
So you're telling us in February you're budgeting also because of COVID?
The budget framework paper is brought the figure. That's why the figures are changing. What they brought.
So by February you had put in figures
the minister
because you realized there was COVID. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes, the law.
No, that's not true.
No, let me tell you the law. The law enables the Minister of Finance, after correcting all the circular or whatever.
But my question is, when the figure for security went up by February because of COVID?
Yes, it is.
What is that? Let me finish. That security is going to do that health is not doing in the face of COVID. Maybe the
listeners, they want to listen.
Okay, and make us understand what is the additional thing.
What does the law say?
The additional thing security is going to do that health workers are not doing.
Yes.
With the additional.
Can I finish my point? What does the budget framework paper say? What does it mean? It's the Minister of Finance corrects all the data, which starts in the frame and say, please, the projection we are going to make by February, we are presenting it to Parliament.
I know you can read for me.
Finish my point.
But you are a member of Parliament, really. You can reject some of these things as a Parliament, as a legislator.
Let me finish
it's your
so
job
that members can understand. What has brought the budget
collectively
security to come first now? To come from number three.
When was it last
It was in the last financial year. It was number 3. The first one was infrastructure. That was Minister of Works. The second one was education. Why is it coming first? Now, you look at the budget framework paper, the figures. This is totally different. Now it has come first because there is an extra service must be implemented and provided for to come out of a quagmire.
What is that extra?
Those are the activities that are going to be done by
deploying
soldiers
with sticks.
Tell me, my brother, this war we are facing, if Ugandans...
Okay,
so
one at a time. Honorable Ibrahim. My problem with the Honorable Ibrahim and other members of parliament is that you have the powers. You are the people who appropriate as a parliament. If you said no collectively, you wouldn't pass it.
But Kakoza sits in that parliament.
Yes, but even you sit in that parliament.
Yes.
So all of you are equally culpable.
We made a proposal that we can do away, and let me first read for you a paragraph in the committee report that Kakoza signed. This is what the committee said. The strategic budget priorities for next year should address the short-term, medium-term and long-term stimulus packages to key priority sectors that are critical for ensuring that the well-being of all Ugandans is at the forefront in resource allocation. Some of the budget interventions earlier planned can be postponed as the economy stabilizes. This is what Kakoza's report says. When it came to actual supply, the figures themselves, they remained the way government presented them. We made a proposal that please, we can do away with a number of items, I don't have to repeat them. Even the classified assets themselves, because I don't think government is going to procure MiG to go and secure the border between us and Kenya. But this is always the blackmail, and they have the numbers. Sometimes we make the proposals. What the minister did this today is tell Parliament that don't worry, we will revise. Because we told him the priority now is not even treating the 60 people who are at Entebbe and Morago, but those who are losing jobs. Because I think security means buying equipment. Security actually means the well-being of Ugandans. These hundreds that you have locked down now in their houses, the day they leave and they have nothing to eat and you are not distributing food, or you are distributing it at the pace that we have witnessed, let me tell you, you'll need curfew for the next 2 years for people to live in Kampala. People have lost jobs, people are at home, they can't feed their families, and in the mindset of many supporters, the rabid supporters of this government, for them security means they are like Russians. It means a military parade and equipment. It doesn't mean providing for the population that is going to be starving, that is actually now starving. So you said, you sit in parliament, what do? We've made proposals, they have rejected them, and we can't strangle them. But we are going to live, we will live these conditions together. They will see them. Because the head of state usually can be exceedingly stubborn. He does not want to concede that there are problems. You saw in all these addresses he has been making that our economy is not going to be affected, that actually COVID is an opportunity to grow local industries. And look at the provision, how much money are they putting in industry? The proposal we made, the one that Mwangachivim presented, was that we can save 5 trillion shilling by doing away with all these workshops, special bills and so on and so forth. And then we put this money first in health, 2 in education, 3 in industries. And that's how we are going to survive the aftermath of COVID. They said no, and the way you see the Honorable Kakoza speaking is the way they were speaking in Parliament, one after another, as if they went for coaching. Security is very important. We must secure the border. We need more troops there. All the troops I have seen at the border are holding sticks to kill those who are crossing from Kenya to Uganda. Now they have said the budget.
Okay, let me bring in, before that, because there's something I read called special meals and drinks. You have also budgeted for. I wonder what special meals and drinks these are. And billions of money is also going to go there. And that's our money. But Rita, you know, people are locked up. People have lost, they are losing their jobs. They're going to be hungry. They're going to be angry. And of course, if they are pressed against the wall, nothing can stop them. I see ourselves on the precipice of some kind of anarchy. Can we contain that?
And I want to thank Honorable Semujunganda for that. To broaden the definition of security. In this country, we think security is the silence of guns. There's what is the security of the person. Now you see these MPs, I don't know whether it's true, they will tell us, I hope so. They are all looking for 20 million to go and buy food. Food security is a problem, and it's going to continue being a problem. We are having people beating themselves in those, behind those walls in these 3-4 weeks we've been at home. Domestic violence. That is security of the person. Nobody's looking at that. Those issues are going to reduce productivity of Ugandans. And once productivity is reduced, all these things they are talking about, ring fencing, the borders, maybe the same security personnel will come and help us buy for us food in the house. Because if a woman's limb has been, she's in Karewe, she's in Makindye, and then tomorrow the hand is broken, she can't do what she's been doing. Productivity has gone down. Mental health. People are mentally tortured. The men who, you know, the masculinity, the power, all that, a man cannot provide. That is security. So when you talk about security and narrow it to silencing people, and this security should not just be looked at, we are securing the border. The security is also about silencing people. There is fear that people are going to come out. So all of you stay inside. Yeah, it's very good we are trying to contain corona. But there is also fear that if anything happens, if there is any uprising, that might be a danger. So while Honorable Kakoza, you're thinking about security, let's not only think about the silencing of the gun. Security of the person is actually worse than the guns we're talking about. Because the guns that we are securing from the borders, we can defeat those people. But this security of the person that we're not talking about, the agriculture that is coming almost at the budget, I mean at the bottom of our budget, that we're not talking about. I have not heard any MP, not let alone all leaders, we're all leaders in our own right, talking about us taking advantage of the rains now. That we are now all looking for the food. Honorable Semunju, I'm waiting for my portion in Chira. That let's take advantage of this rain.
He actually announced that he was going to give food. I don't know.
Yes, I'm waiting. No, so,
not publicly.
So, I've not heard people say, let's take advantage. I heard him out there, Honorable Kakoza, talking about, you know, encouraging people to plant. Seeds. We need, that is the type of message we need to be sending out there. Many young people have been caught in these cities. Now I'm told we have a number of cities. Our gardens, our big land is up country. Nobody's digging. We will wait for you guys. And I'm telling you, we are going to eat you people up like the locust as citizens.
In fact, let me give you information. For me, they told me to donate food. I said no. Because if you are in town, I give you 6 kilograms of posho, it won't be enough. I've tested it in my constituency. People who I gave seeds, they have got food. They have got maize seeds. So this is what, as we are chatting, we came in, I said, no. The best way now to come out of this quagmire, to utilize this advantage, because coronavirus now is teaching us how we can manage a bad situation. It's an opportunity. If government can allow and request them and say, those people who want to go home now, if they can allow like 3 days grace period, the land you are talking about, the season we are in, and we prepare, because nobody knows that this quagmire we are in, how long we are going to spend in it. I agree with you that if we got an opportunity to get a grace period, we transport these guys, 70% or 67% of the youth who are not productive, we will transport them back home, and they utilize. So
reflect.
Yeah, that the budget can't do that, because when you talk of agriculture, it's multi-sector. It's you implementing it. If you deal with infrastructure, you are supplementing the budget, the agriculture itself. When you say that you are making a road, you are making feeder roads, you are making tarmac roads, you are supplementing these people within agriculture to do and transport those foods.
Before, there's some people who have produced and then they have made losses because
do you know what's
they didn't have
happening now? I've been in
you should be investing in agro-processing, opening up more markets. Because if people produce massively and there's no agro-processing and there's no market, they will not do that.
What the government
they want
all the time
long,
long
time in that activity.
All the time long. If you look at the projection 10 years ago, government has been investing in infrastructure. All the money, all the budgeting has been investing in infrastructure. But because now, the situation you are in, it's like when you are in a deep fit. You can't say you are out of that fit. You must plan to come out of that deep, that abyss, before you plan to do things like normal. So the best way to plan with this budget, that's why I'm telling you that the back years, you look at the budget, how it has been projected. Now we cannot budget it the same way. No, because it's an abnormal situation.
Rita.
Let me just chip in a little bit. You know, when you talk about agricultural development, it has to be holistic. It's not about only infrastructure.
Yeah,
you have extension services. It has to go hand in hand. You have to strike a balance. There has to be value addition. We have mangoes rotting, pineapples rotting. I pass Luwere every time. Our nice pineapples there. So however good these roads are, if you are not balancing the roads with industries, either small scale or otherwise, if you're not balancing that with the marketing, if you're not balancing that, there has to be a balance. So between
2017 and 2019, how many factories have been opened?
How many Ugandan juices do we have here?
Yeah, that's true. That's why even that's
what is the plan of making sure the 4,200 factories that have closed are resuscitated and they come back in production?
That's why when you are planning this
where
budget,
is the stimulus package
exactly
for such industries?
You must come out of the
but why don't you plan for it now? Because you have a problem.
Of course, that's the
there was an industry opened up in Soroti for fruit factory. It took forever without producing juice.
For that, you must deal with the thinking when you come out of this problem. You plan and say, how do I come out of... Because let me tell you, you cannot project any figures when you are not already there. You can project depending on your performance. All budgets depend on the data collected from the former performance, but currently now where you are, the economic base you want to plan for is eroded completely. Even the policy statement they brought in February and March to determine a budget, all what that thinking has been eroded because you still have a problem at your disposal which you don't know when are you coming out of it. That's why we told the Minister of Finance that as much as you want, you can suspend in that budget. Strategically, you can suspend some projects which are co-partnership with the government because you will not manage to have domestic revenue. Leave external projects to continue so that you can manage the consumption expense to move from that side to go to another side. Because you're operating not in a normal situation. And this is what we've done. You are not operating in a normal situation.
Okay. Gentlemen and lady, I'm going to take a break, but when we come back, I'll open the lines so that you two at home or wherever you are, you can be a part of this discussion. You'll see the numbers on the screen. Call us and tell us what you think about the budget projections and the priorities of government, whether they are in line with the priorities of you where you are. We'll be right back. Well, back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guests tonight are Honorable James Kakoza, Rita Achiro, and Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda. And we're looking into the budget 2020-2021. But there's something that happened in the supplementary budget, which I think we cannot run away from. The 10 billion Uganda shillings to be given to you members of parliament. And that has caused controversy. Of course, some members of parliament have gone to court, but we're not going to be discussing the merits of court. We're going to look into that issue itself. But let me first maybe play for you what the Attorney General said, and after what the response was of the Speaker of Parliament. The
spending of the money after the 21st of April would be tantamount to contempt of court.
Members of Parliament were not party to this suit. The court had no business to interfere with their accounts. No. Attorney General, no. Next time, the court will say, take off your clothes when you're in the house. And we shall have to obey. Don't encourage the courts to overrun Parliament.
No, Madam Speaker.
No. They lost, and then they went out to court. I think we need to find a way of dealing with these members. You cannot solve parliamentary issues in the court.
I think as of now, that's the elephant in the room. But let me begin with Rita here, because you could be the neutral person on this. The ping pong between the Speaker and the Attorney General. What do you make of that?
Well, that is a reflection not between the Speaker and the Attorney General. That's a reflection of who we are and how our governance system works. And looking at the bigger picture, I'm actually surprised that my senior, the Speaker, could speak like that. This money, was it from the parliament? They picked it from their savings and they are giving to members of parliament, or this is part of a, this thing has been in everybody's mind and talk and everywhere. Honestly, if this money is to buy fuel, to buy posho, are the members of parliament the right people to do that? Isn't this speaking to the breakdown of systems that our members of parliament always talk about, including, for the very first time, my honorable member of parliament, Uganda? How do you buy posho? At least for us in Chira, that's what we are told, we need food. Elsewhere, I hear other people are asking for fuel. A whole member of parliament with all the brain and everything, their job is going to buy posho to distribute. What will Honorable Musa Ichweru be doing? So for me, I think this money, there is something we are not seeing, and probably we are reading in between. Some people are saying maybe it is scratch my back, I scratch yours. Because there is precedent set in our parliament. When there's something that is not clear, give members of parliament money. Today, I had the Honorable Speaker say, now there are guidelines. Initially, there were no guidelines how this money was going to be used. So everything is happening haphazardly. Today, I met a member of parliament, and he was in a hurry to run to his constituency. I'm imagining this money is to make the members of parliament relevant during this COVID-19. They have been doing a good job. We must appreciate sitting there, maintaining the distance, trying to work. I think they said now, but for us, we are here working. Our constituencies are not seeing us. We need to be seen. I guess that's what they are doing. But we are missing a bigger picture. And the bigger picture is what Honorable Semun Uganda has been reading for us here. These things, the 20 million, which they are going to get, or they have already got, is what we are focusing on. But there's a bigger picture in this budget that has blindfolded, unfortunately, in a number of members of parliament. This is the picture we are missing. So while we want this 10 billion to be put in the right place, and for me, I would advocate it should be taken to Ministry of Health as soon as yesterday. Because we have information, our health workers do not have the basics. Basics of masks, basics of gloves. These would buy so many gloves and masks. Not these ones we are making with the professional, not the Chitenge ones we are making. The N95 that protect them to a large extent. So while we want to talk about this 10 billion, the bigger devil is in the small letters that Honorable Samunji Uganda.
Honorable James Kakoza, shouldn't that money be going to people really who are on the front line, protecting our health workers, the epidemiologists, people who it is their job to do this, or even, you know, putting it in a system that can, you know, give a shot in the arm to the people who are suffering, who don't have food, instead of you, because that is not your area of competence.
I think there is a misrepresentation of information in the media which we need to correct. One, the supplementary comes from government. Let me explain the process a bit so that my speaker, what she has said on the floor of the House. There are three arms of government. The three arms of government work independently. There is no any, I would not see any ruling that one arm of government can direct another arm of government that do the process this way. A supplementary comes from government to parliament. It's submitted to the committee. The committee scrutinizes it. After scrutinizing it, the finance responds. After passing it, it comes to the floor of the House. And once it's submitted to the floor of the House and adopted, it's a collective responsibility. Even ministers, even those. Particularly on that particular supplementary, whereby a member who wrote a minority, he wrote a minority. People didn't agree. I don't expect any member of parliament. There are ways to rescind a decision by our rules. You don't go to court. You give a note that you parliament, the decision you've made, I don't agree with it. And it's revisited. But for a member of parliament to go to court and expect that court, I don't anticipate, but there is no judge who will sit, I'm not, and directs parliament the way how it performs its duties. And if you look at the rulings of Ayume of 2002, 2003, the only thing those members of parliament could have done, could have said, yes, the rules allow to rescind a decision taken by
Let
parliament.
us not even get into the decision.
Okay, I don't want to go there. The moment
the act itself.
we members of parliament, you remember, actually we're not supposed to talk about it because we are employees of parliamentary commission. The speaker was clear and said, please, you members of parliament, we are to guide you, to give you guidelines after that money comes.
Honorable Ibrahim, in the court of public opinion, you're really getting a hit from the people, because in every platform,
Where is, you see, the mistake Kamara, many of you make is to think that the public is on social media. Since this problem of COVID started, the public, at least in Ichira, has been at my gate looking for food. There was time I refused to open.
Rita, you
guys
have,
Rita,
you have been on.
My 10
I want to take a picture of Rita on
my 10-year-old daughter came running. Because I said, no, I mean, because I asked the first woman who came that when the president was announcing the lockdown, did he tell you that you will come to my home for food? That was day one. I tried to dodge to explain. The second day, I didn't want to open. Now they came, sat there in their hundreds. So my daughter comes and said, Daddy, but the women have children who are crying. Even if I am heartless, I have been by there giving food. I said, I didn't want people to come to my home. This money came, and I want people to understand its background. There are MPs who went to the Parliamentary Commission and said, we are also implementing part of the COVID responses. On 26 March, I am one of those who received a letter from the Permanent Secretary Minister of Health requesting that we should make our ambulances available to do some work. If you came to Chira, my ambulance has become like a taxi, ferrying people to hospital, even for simple ailment because of the, and fueling that ambulance and servicing it I can do using my resources, the money that Parliament gives me. the extra responsibility of feeding people. Rita said, why don't we ask government to do it? Please, the pace of this government, and I've told the people, it's not that Mr. Museveni is a bad-hearted person, but his pace, that is his pace. What he was supposed to do in 5 years, he asked for 10. Now it is 35, he wants 10. His government was supposed to distribute food, and we passed 59 billion shilling to cover the first 14 days that they announced. The first 14 days ended when they are not covered.
But you should be looking on how you can sort the inefficiencies in the government.
When people
not necessarily.
Oh, Kamara, that is a luxury. I have people at the gate. I must find a solution instantly. And I am not here to justify the money or the rules of parliament. I am telling you, I faced, and I have said everybody, I have had to balance morality and starvation. And I have said, for the first time, as she said, I am willing the public, to, for you which you think is the bigger public on social media and the media.
And not necessarily.
You can roll me in the mud, but this is the problem that I had to face. If we had a functioning government that you will give 50 billion shilling to go and buy food and they deliver it, I had thought I'm going to use this time to be reading books. I saw Rukwago. You're not talking about Semuju. Look at the images coming from Rukwago's gate. A lawyer of his caliber with a plastic mug, the traditional one I used to use in the village in Chazang, distributing maize flour at the gate. Even the policeman went to Rukwago and gave up. So this is what we have had to face. I asked people, these people who are at my gate, okay, I will tell them to go away. And then in the evening, they are seeing me on NTV, Akaunga is returning 20 million shilling after I've told them there is no money. I am going to look heartless, and I don't think I am. Therefore, I am willing. But also, finally, there is also
my problem is
if you can allow
helping
me,
people is a good thing.
Yes.
But can't you look for how you can sort the inefficiency of government? It doesn't have to be an MP who is giving out food. There should be a system that you as legislators and the central government should work out.
Kamara,
that should work.
For me, this government is beyond the correction. That's why every day I wake up to go and fight it to remove it. I have only failed to remove it in a record time. Maybe because I think it will improve. I don't think it will.
No, but Mr.
I don't
So all of you are going to take this money for different reasons.
No, no.
For him, he thinks the government has failed.
For you, the situation we are in,
but also, because just a second.
It's an accident.
Just a second, Kakoza.
This
particular money has also found us with
I've never seen.
With
it's not many times when Ibrahim and Kakoza are in agreement.
No, we are.
but
we are.
but now you are.
We are all employees of Parliament.
Even New York. You saw the mayor of New York. He said, please, for heaven's sake, I've been in this government for about 15 years. Even a PPE, which I put on my mouth, we are importing it from China. What have we been doing?
Now,
this situation we are in,
you see,
this situation we are in, it needs everybody.
But Ibrahim is saying, if it was not that the case that the government has inefficiencies, he wouldn't be taking money as a person.
I wouldn't.
No,
Why
so
should I? I would not be intervening, making intervention.
This COVID-19 we are in, since independence, when did we have it?
No, I think, Patrick, can I come in,
Yes.
please? Honorable Kakoza, nobody is denying this is unprecedented. And if need be, each of us will get our 10,000, our 1 million and put it in the basket. Nobody is denying that. We need the collective effort. And some of us have been calling for this collective effort. But you cannot have a collective effort when some people are becoming so personal. If you people said, for us as MPs, we have donated, what is that fund they have in Parliament, where they remove some of their salary every month?
Constituency development something?
No. There's a saving. There's a saving they have.
But the pension is statutory.
No, not the pension. They have a circle or something. You have circles.
It's different. It's a personal contribution.
Exactly.
The circle is the saving.
Exactly. If we are saying from our circle, there's one MP, I forget his name. He was even on TV today, that from my personal salary, for the next 3 months, I'm giving 2 million. All of us, if we saw that picture happening, We've seen border guys put their 10,000, a woman took their her 5,000. That is the spirit. But how do you expect this? Listen,
giving does not mean just on the member of parliament. Even any individual can contribute.
Yes, and
any member of parliament, any person, any human being can give. It's not constitutional.
It's not.
Yes.
And you're saying because it's unprecedented, everybody can give. But people
do you know how much
Honorable
Uganda has put in even before 20 million has come?
No, I think for me,
you saw Nambo's case.
I think for me,
you saw Nambo's case.
The debate that we miss as a country, and I hope after COVID,
I'm going to open the line so that Ugandans can be able to say.
After COVID, we will have it. There has not been a day when the salary or the allowances of members of parliament is not a controversial matter in Uganda. I have worked with you before. At least I remember that there was a 12% increment every year, sometimes an accelerated one. At Parliament, increased by 1. I remember there was a story I read in Monday. I nearly called my colleagues that MPs are not going to pay OTT. When I was working at Monday, I didn't even know how they were procuring airtime. Because as you are worker, you must give me airtime. At Parliament, they give you airtime. Whoa, MPs have airtime. They give you fuel. Oh, MPs have fuel.
Patrick, can I finish my statement?
Allowances at Parliament is a very controversial matter. And I have been asking my colleagues, the
yes.
Please, pay us. We stop taking a public money.
Let's listen to Rita.
You pay us as civil society.
Ibrahim,
and then we will go and do that work.
Ibrahim, let's hear it.
Yes, before Honorable Kakoza interrupted, because I don't like that type of... I was saying, this is unprecedented. And we can see even that so-called superpowers are struggling. The challenge we're having is MPs getting money. We have district councillors. Should they also be given money to go and give to their constituencies?
But how much is RDC has got in that supplementary?
I'm talking, RDC is
why do you talk over an MP?
Now you see that's
and
the problem.
They don't talk about an RDC.
You see that's the problem. When I speak, you speak, and when you speak, I keep quiet. Okay. And as a leader, I expect that to be, because we need to give the information out there. We have members of parliament, very good. We have local councillors who also have constituencies, just like you. And the point you bring is very valid. We're giving money to RDCs to do what? Security, I guess. That is the point you're stressing. Because there's a huge security budget. RDCs are there, and they are being given money. So it goes back to the issues of priority. What do we prioritize? Are we taking advantage of such situations? Everything that comes in this country, there are some people taking advantage. And I think this is the time for us to sober up as citizens of this country, that we must stand together. COVID is not here. It's not just a passerby. We're still in the phase of emergency. We're going to be in the midterm and the long term. And it's going to be right in our faces. So we need to sober up and say, guys, we have to join hands to do this together. We cannot see a certain section of people doing things differently and others not doing their part. And that is the point we are making. We're not saying MPs shouldn't get money.
But civil society, one question. Have you ever sat and known that Ugandans have a set mind of a dependence syndrome, even when they don't want to do work, they want to beg as a culture? And how have you dealt with it?
I want to believe you are a part of the Ugandans, and you come from that same community. For you to be an MP, you came from that same...
We have to advocate people to start thinking.
So we are not just advocating. Actually, MPs need to put in place and put back civic education.
It's there.
Where? Are you funding the Human Rights Commission that is responsible for civic education? Tell me how much. You know all the budget on your fingertips for security for that. Tell me how much of that money goes for civic education. To change that mindset, that a whole...
But I thought you get money for civil society.
No. Let me open the lines. Gentlemen and ladies, let me open the lines. There's one thing you can agree.
That's why we are not political parties.
That's for sure.
Yeah, we're not political parties. We don't want to be government. And government has a responsibility. You can't run away from that responsibility.
Okay.
You have to build civic competence.
Rita and James, let me open the lines so that we get to hear what some Ugandans probably who are online could tell us a few things. I'm taking the very first caller online. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm called Robert. I'm calling from Kampala.
Robert in Kampala. Okay, you are on air. Please go right ahead.
I would like to thank you for the show, first of all.
You're welcome.
And I appreciate the time the lady joining the debate is having with you. I want the members of parliament right there with you to tell us and agree that the COVID-19 pandemic has also hit them hard, because from their debate you can listen that actually they feel they need some share of the money. From what Kakoza just said, asking the lady right in front there, he said, do you know how much Mr. Uganda has put even before the COVID-19? So COVID has hit the MPs as well hard, and they are trying to find a way of also being up to speed in as far as their finances are concerned. I think it's time for Ugandans to do their best and come 2021 and crucify them on the ballot, because some of them,
okay.
yeah, let them just crucify them on the ballot. That's it.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. We thank you very much. I'm going to ask someone in transmission turn up the volume for my guests to hear what is being said. Okay, let me try to take another caller online so that I get to hear what the issues are. I have a call online. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, good evening, Patrick Kamara. I'm here calling from Kasokoso.
From Kasokoso?
Yes.
All right, go right ahead.
I have always loved my honorable so much, and he also knows it, I think, because I have ever met him. But on this 10 billion, for sure, he has vulgarized people, social media people, as if the social media people are not Ugandans. We are also Ugandans. And even on my page, I have always argued that whenever Honorable Semuju speaks, I have spoken. But for this, you can never...
On this one, you're not with him?
I can never be. Because if anything, this thing was not part of the supplementary they passed. So how did it come in, and why is he defending it so terribly? So, for example, if the government does not do a good job with this supplementary, how will they hold them accountable when they themselves are part of this thing? So I think on this, Honorable, I know, and then Honorable Kakwaza also said that Ugandans have got a mindset of begging. I think the NRM government is part of making Ugandans beggars. I have ever met Honorable Kakwaza at Parliament with those people who hover around there looking for MPs to ask them for something. And I think, and he was part of, like, he was giving them audience, so maybe he was later going to give them something. And so it's part of the mindset that has been set by this government, and they must answer for it. They must either work to remove it or keep paying for it, because it's for their making.
Thank you very much, our caller from Kasokoso. We thank you very much. Let me maybe take two more, and understand there are quite a number of you would want to contribute, but because of time, we won't be able to take many calls. So let me take one more. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening to you. This is Veren from Serere.
You are in Serere?
Yes.
Your name again, ma'am?
Veronica.
Veronica, you're on air.
In my opinion,
yes,
the MPs would take the money but bring it to the district task forces.
Okay.
Because the constituency MP cannot take the 20 million to the constituency. What about the woman MP? It means she will have a lot. So let them bring to the common pool. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Veronica in Serere. Maybe let me try take one more caller, and that will be the last. We have a call online. Hello.
Oh.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from? Oh, it's a pity. We seem to have lost the line to that caller, and for that matter, I'll try take another one. Hello. Hello. Okay. Looks like you put your volume, you turned it up high, and so it's giving you an echo in where you are and here where we are. But I think we're going to stop there. Let me ask the Honorable Semuju Uganda to respond, but also make his concluding remark.
The conditions under which we work, we are now answering for the incompetence of the executive. I mean, I never imagined that me, same Uganda, I will be standing at my gate distributing a portion in the morning, almost up to lunchtime.
Do you have some pictures of that?
No, I don't do my politics on social media.
I know what I'm saying, but if somebody asks you to prove that, would you prove it?
In my faith, when you give someone something, you don't publicize them. You have never seen me. I will tell you, when this COVID started, we were buying containers and distributing soap. There are colleagues who went and put their posters. I said, no, I can't do it. That's how I do politics, because I think in my mind it's the best way. So I don't want to photograph old women who are the age of my mother begging for 1 kilogram of posho. Really, that will be too much. I understand the sentiments of everybody and I am listening to you, but you must also understand the conditions that we face. Either we join hands, and indeed I want to give you an invitation. The same energy that you have put in fighting with the MPs over 20 billion shilling, I want you to deploy the same energy when we are fighting with Museveni, giving himself 280 billion shilling for donation. The other day he came with a supplementary, just a supplementary for president to go around the country, 50 billion shilling. I didn't see you, the civil society, going from one radio to another TV to fight. You left it to us. And the moment you make your struggle selective, you are inviting MPs full force. I am not saying we are angels, we also listen to people and we take advice. And that's how we can improve our service. But I want to invite you to be broader, that when we are fighting the things I have mentioned, let us fight them together. Of course, I'm not going to invite you to join me when you're fighting to remove the government, but me, I think that will be the solution. That's why I say I'm not inviting
my struggles are different.
Yes.
My lane is different. You have a
that's what I'm saying.
lane.
I'm not going to issue that invitation, but this on the other one, I am. So finally, I think the media, to you, Kamara, and everybody who is in the media, I think when we are setting and framing issues for debate, let's not go for drama. I am very happy today we came here to discuss the budget. Elsewhere, all the microphone as I leave Parliament, some of you are talking about the 10 billion. I said, but I'm talking about 45 trillion shilling. Why do you think I must be discussing? I am not the spokesperson of 10 billion. Ask me about the budget. Yesterday we were quarreling again with the government over taxes, because they have added 150 shilling to kerosene. You will now pay 1,350 tax per litre of fuel that you are going to consume. That debate is not in the media. Every day the MPs, and then to portray us like thugs who have picked money and put in their pocket to go and buy pieces of land, it is also unfair. So the moment you treat me unfair, you should expect the same response. We can have a debate finally, and I think this country needs to have a debate. If people think the work of Parliament is supposed to be free, please tell me, then I will make a decision if I continue working in the media and also go and become an MP. But the moment it becomes a full-time job, I don't want people to quarrel with me that Parliament has bought me a computer, that Parliament has given me fuel, because elsewhere I have worked, these things have been provided. They have provided when we are working together. Now you turn against me that MPs have now.
Thank you, Mr. Kamala and the viewers. For me, it's a matter of principle, which this COVID-19 has helped us, and we need to think far ahead of everything. For me, my principle has been always that we need to give people, to teach them how to fish, rather than giving them a fish which is already got from the lake. And my principle in my constituency, I refused to donate a shilling or to give anything. I can chip in, as Semujunganda said, the way you come personally, anybody can contribute. But principally, also the citizens must play a role. Don't wait for Honorable Semujunganda. Every time, what is your role as a citizen? Why do you fail to do work and provide something to your home? I've told you, last season, I gave people seeds. Today, in those areas where I gave seeds, they have got maize. They are suffering with only one thing only. It's because they don't have money where to sell their maize, so that they can get money to buy soap and salt. And this is a combined effort. to change the mindset of people that you must work. The president has been going all over the country in the last season.
Distributing money.
No, wait, in the last season, saying please, but none is there. You give people seeds, they start selling it.
So you give them money?
No, wait, I'm telling you, this is a combined effort of everybody, of every Ugandan.
Okay.
That this coronavirus has taught us a lesson. You have to think and sit in your home. Nobody is going to look after your family. Even if some Uganda gives you for portion today, it's not sustainable.
All right. Rita, your parting shot.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. In every dark situation, there's a silver lining. And I hope as countrymen and countrywomen, we look at the silver lining of the COVID-19 and start to think and reflect more deeply and take advantage of this for us to think about our country and the future. The truth is, a lot of inward looking is going to happen with the North, the people we've been depending on, and therefore even the budgets that we have been expecting definitely is going to be cut. Therefore we need to cut our coat according to our cloth. And for us to be able to do that, government needs to look in and start investing in the people. There are three things that I learned in development economics that can turn around a country. One is human capital. Let's improve the quality of education in this country. This has proved us wrong, that our education system has not helped. Two, industrialization. While Honorable Kakoza talked about the roads, industrialization is not only about roads, it's a holistic approach that we need to embrace. Let's look at what yields this industrialization. We still have the good the weather and everything, but we need to look at it all round. Invest where we can sow in agriculture, and that agriculture is not using the hand hoe. That agriculture needs value addition. That agriculture needs standard setting. That agriculture needs marketing. Lastly, we need to look at the issue of employment. This has taught us, I'm telling you, today I met a colleague and he was telling me, I stayed home for 3 weeks. I had to walk 10 kilometers to access money. We do not have a culture of saving. So we are a hand-to-mouth community. We cannot develop like that. And lastly, Patrick, the issues of inequality, the gap between the rich and the poor is widening. Government must look at bridging that gap. That's why we are going to eat you up, Semujungand. Okay. You said I'll not come to your gate. I'm going to come.
Okay. Rita and Honorable James Kakoza and Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda, we thank you very much. What I know for the members of parliament, for sure, there's a lot of pressure that we put on them. And sometimes, in some cases, we've turned them into mobile ATMs. These guys really suffer. Yes. And so even though that's not their job for which they were elected to do, but that's the reality on the ground. I think for those who have more, you're expected to give more. And let us maybe be your brother's keeper or your sister's keeper. If you can chip in, let them not sleep on an empty stomach when you have something to share. And let us remember that COVID anywhere is like COVID everywhere. So we should not relax. Good night, and God bless Uganda.